sky over Zorithia glowed with colors no human eye had ever seen. Violet clouds swirled above mountains shaped like spirals, and rivers of silver shimmered like liquid mirrors. The alien city below was a network of towers, bridges, and glowing platforms, where beings of blue, green, and gold skin moved gracefully, floating or walking, their limbs bending in ways humans would find impossible. It was a city of wonder, but also of strict rules. And rules were about to collide with chaos. Among the floating towers, a ceremony was taking place. The Zorithian princess, Lyra, stood atop the highest platform, adorned in robes of shifting light, her face serene. The crowd watched silently, their long, elegant bodies swaying in unison. The ritual was one of balance, a demonstration of the planet's harmony. Everything had to follow the exact order. A single mistake could mean catastrophe. But chaos arrived in the form of a sudden storm. A spike of unstable energy ripped through the sky, a storm that could tear the towers apart. The princess's platform shuddered violently. The alien attendants panicked, but no one moved toward her. Rules forbade approaching the royal figure without the queen's command. That was when a human standing at the edge of the platform took action. His name was Marcus, and he was far from ordinary. He had come to Zorithia as part of a diplomatic mission, a simple envoy meant to observe and report. But humans were not so simple. Marcus had grown up in worlds where thinking fast and acting faster was the difference between life and death. When the platform shook, Marcus noticed a support beam cracking. The princess would fall if it gave way. No one else dared to act. Marcus didn't hesitate. He jumped, grabbing the princess's hand, his muscles straining as he pulled her toward safety. The crowd gasped. Aliens had never seen such raw courage. The concept of intervening without the queen's permission was unthinkable, yet Marcus's human instincts guided him. He used a small, compact tool he always carried, a stabilizer of his own invention to secure the platform. The metal bent and clicked, holding firm. Lyra looked into his eyes, astonished. "You saved me," Marcus smiled, brushing off dust from his sleeve. "It was nothing. Just a little human problem-solving." "Nothing," he said, but to the Zorithians it was everything. They had rules, protocols, calculations for every risk, but Marcus had acted on intuition, speed, and ingenuity. He had defied centuries of tradition without even thinking about it. The queen's messenger arrived, gliding down from her tower like a living shadow. His long arms held a crystal rod that emitted a harsh, humming light. He pointed it at Marcus. "Human," he said in the melodic Zorithian tongue, "you have disrupted the balance. Report to the queen immediately." Marcus's heart sank a little. He had expected thanks, perhaps a polite acknowledgement. But in Zorithia, rules were stronger than gratitude. Still, he kept his calm. "I only helped," he said in their language, which he had learned quickly using a translator device. The princess was in danger. The messenger's eyes narrowed. "Your method's unconventional. The queen will decide your fate." Lyra the princess stepped forward, her glowing robes flickering like sunlight on water. "Please, your majesty," she called to the distant tower where the queen ruled. "This human saved me. He acted with courage. He deserves honor, not punishment." Her voice was calm but commanding. Even the humans could feel its power. The queen herself descended soon after, appearing on a platform that glowed brighter than the rest. Her skin shimmered like polished sapphire, and her eyes were deep pools of intelligence and authority. She studied Marcus with a gaze that seemed to pierce into his mind. "You endangered yourself," she said, her voice like music and metal combined. "And yet you saved the princess. Explain yourself." Marcus bowed slightly. "I saw she was in danger. I could not stand by. Humans act to protect life, and I could help. That is all." The queen's expression did not change, but a spark of curiosity flickered in her eyes. No human had ever spoken so simply, yet so confidently in the face of royal authority. You have disrupted our customs, the queen said, and yet you may have shown a new perspective. Still, your presence cannot go unexamined. Marcus felt the weight of her words. He knew this meant he could not leave. The queen would decide his fate, and humans were unpredictable to her. To Zorithians, unpredictability was dangerous. Meanwhile, the crowd began to murmur. Aliens whispered to each other, some amazed, some fearful. Marcus noticed their astonishment. They had never seen courage like his mixed with calm reasoning. Lyra smiled faintly at him. "You are unlike anyone I've ever known," she said quietly, as if sharing a secret only humans could understand. Marcus chuckled. "Humans are strange like that. We see problems and act. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we try." The queen observed this exchange silently. Her advisors hovered nearby, their long limbs twisting as they exchanged information in an unspoken language. Finally, she spoke. "You will remain here, human," she said. "Under supervision. You are unpredictable, and the safety of this realm cannot be entrusted to someone we do not fully understand. Your knowledge and actions, however, may prove useful." Marcus nodded, understanding that arguing would be futile. "Understood, Your Majesty." Lyra's eyes shone with gratitude. She motioned for Marcus to follow her to a more secure platform away from the storm's remnants. "I owe you," she said simply. "You saved my life. I hope you will not regret being here." Marcus smiled. "I doubt it. This place, it's incredible." "And you're incredible." The queen lingered above, watching, her mind turning. She was intrigued by humans, by their ability to think differently. But she was also wary. A single human had just upended centuries of carefully structured life in her kingdom. Could she trust more? Could she control more? That night Marcus was taken to a guest chamber in the palace. The walls were alive with soft lights, shifting patterns, and alien symbols. Despite the beauty, Marcus felt a twinge of uncertainty. He was a guest, but in truth, he was more a prisoner of fascination. The queen would not release him until she understood him. Lyra visited him before the evening rituals. "You have changed everything today," she said, looking both amused and thoughtful. "The queen, she will watch you closely, but maybe, just maybe, humans are not the threat she believes." Marcus leaned back, studying the strange room. "We humans, we like solving problems, sometimes in ways others don't expect. It seems that's exactly what happened today." Lyra smiled. "It is not just that. You acted with courage, without fear. That is unusual here, and for that you are both honored and feared." The words settled over Marcus like a gentle weight. He realized that being a human on Zorithia meant something far more than he had ever imagined. He was not just an observer, he had become a force of change. As the night deepened, the palace settled into quiet hums and glowing patterns. Marcus lay awake, thinking of the storm, the platform, the queen, and the princess. He knew that his journey was just beginning. Saving the princess had brought him honor, but it had also bound him to a world far stranger, far more cautious, and far more fascinating than he had ever expected. And high above, the queen observed. She had questions, concerns, and perhaps a spark of admiration. One human had just changed everything. What could he do next? The first part of Marcus's story had ended with a rescue, but the real story, the story of trust, curiosity, and human ingenuity, was only just beginning. The morning on Zorithia began with light bending through the city's towers, painting everything in hues of gold and violet. Marcus woke in his guest chamber, the walls softly glowing with symbols that shifted as though alive. The room was beautiful, but he felt the weight of being a human far from home, observed, judged, and not free to leave. Lyra, the princess, arrived at the doorway with her flowing robes moving like water. Her eyes, deep and thoughtful, studied Marcus carefully. "Good morning," she said, her voice gentle. "I hope you slept well. You have a busy day ahead." Marcus stretched, trying to seem casual. "I slept fine, considering I'm a human in an alien palace. What's on the agenda?" Lyra smiled faintly. The Queen wishes to observe you. Not as a guest, but as a human. She wants to understand why you acted as you did yesterday. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Understand humans, that sounds complicated. Lyra laughed softly. It is complicated, but she is curious. And curiosity can sometimes be useful, even for someone as careful as her. They walked through corridors that shimmered like liquid glass. Marcus marveled at the alien architecture, floors that seemed to float, walls that shifted shape, and lights that changed color depending on the observer's position. The palace was a wonder, and he knew that he had only begun to scratch the surface of its secrets. In the main hall, the Queen awaited. She was taller than he remembered, her presence commanding. Her sapphire skin shimmered in the morning light, and her eyes held a mix of scrutiny and curiosity. Around her stood advisors with long limbs and delicate features, whispering to each other in a language Marcus could barely comprehend. "You are awake, human," the Queen said. "Good. Yesterday you acted without rules, without permission. You saved my daughter, yes, but you also disrupted centuries of order. Why should we not see you as a danger?" Marcus bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I understand rules are important. I respect them, but humans act to preserve life. I did not intend to disrupt your order. I acted to save someone's life. That is all." The Queen regarded him silently. Then she did something unexpected. She nodded. "You speak with honesty. And humans, you are unpredictable, yet sometimes your unpredictability can be valuable. We shall see." That one nod was enough to make Marcus realize he was being studied, like a puzzle the Queen wanted to solve. He might not be free, but he was gaining respect. For the next several hours, Marcus moved through the palace under supervision. He observed the routines of the Zorithians, how they floated gracefully, how their technology responded to thought and gesture, and how every action was governed by a strict set of rules. Yet he noticed inefficiencies, simple problems that took the aliens hours to solve because they were stuck in logic loops that humans would avoid. During a break, Marcus found himself with Lyra in a smaller chamber filled with light projections of the planet's history. She pointed to a holographic map of Zorithia. "This is how our cities expand," she said. "Every move is calculated, every change monitored. Deviating from the plan is dangerous. That is why your actions yesterday were shocking." Marcus nodded. "I can see that. But sometimes when danger is immediate, calculation isn't fast enough. You need instinct, speed, and a little imagination." Lyra looked at him thoughtfully. "You are very human, not just because of your species, but because of how you think. Most of us cannot act without certainty. You act with courage even without certainty." He smiled. "Courage is part of survival. It's also part of being human." Word of Marcus's presence spread quickly through the palace. Many advisors and minor officials came to observe him, whispering behind their hands, exchanging astonished glances. A human who had acted decisively and effectively was something they had never imagined. Later in the day, Marcus was invited to witness a demonstration of Zorithian problem-solving. A machine had malfunctioned, a delicate device that controlled the flow of water through the city. Several engineers had tried to repair it, following hundreds of steps in a precise order, but nothing worked. Marcus studied the device for a few moments. He asked simple questions, moved a lever, adjusted a joint, and suddenly the machine hummed and resumed operation. The engineers stared in disbelief. "Impossible," one whispered. "Humans, they just..." The Queen, who had been watching silently, raised a hand to stop the conversation. She turned her gaze to Marcus. "You act without fear. You see solutions we cannot, and yet you are human." "How can that be?" Marcus shrugged lightly. "I'm just used to thinking differently. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I try." Lyra, standing beside him, smiled. "It always works in your own way." By afternoon, Marcus had begun to form a pattern. He noticed small inefficiencies, suggested improvements, and applied human reasoning to problems the aliens considered unsolvable. It was subtle, nothing that broke the Queen's rules, but enough to show that humans could offer something unique. During a quiet moment, Lyra took him to a balcony overlooking the city. "Do you understand now why the Queen watches you so closely?" she asked. Marcus leaned against the railing. "I think I do. Humans are unpredictable. You never know what we'll do next." "That's scary for someone who values order," Lyra nodded. "And yet, your unpredictability, it might be useful. For now, she cannot let you leave. She wants to understand, to see if your way of thinking can benefit us without harming our order." Marcus smiled faintly. "I guess I'm a guest, whether I like it or not." That evening, the Queen summoned Marcus to her private chambers. The room was enormous, with walls that shimmered like liquid sapphire and floors that reflected light in infinite patterns. The Queen stood at the far end, her posture straight, her eyes sharp. "You have impressed many today," she said, "and yet I am cautious. Your methods are unusual, your courage unmeasured. Still, humans have qualities we may need. I wish to test you further. Are you willing?" Marcus nodded. "I am. I want to help in whatever way I can." "Good," the Queen said. "You will remain in the palace, observe our systems, and continue to show your abilities. You may offer solutions, but always within the boundaries I set. Break them and you may find your freedom, limited indefinitely." Marcus understood. Freedom would not come quickly, but respect could be earned. And in this palace, where humans were strangers, respect was as valuable as life itself. Lyra visited him later that night as the palace hummed with quiet energy. "You are changing everything," she said. "Not with force, but with thought. The Queen sees it, others see it. You are unlike anyone they have ever known." Marcus looked at her, a faint smile on his face. "I suppose humans have always been that way. We survive, adapt, and find solutions others overlook. That's our nature." Lyra studied him carefully. "And that nature, it terrifies some and inspires others. Be careful, Marcus. The Queen watches every move. She is wise, but also cautious." Marcus leaned back, thinking of his home, of Earth, of all the worlds humans had touched. Here on Zarithia, he was a single human among thousands of aliens, but already he was making a difference. Over the next few days, Marcus learned more about the palace, the systems, and the customs of Zarithia. He observed carefully, asked questions respectfully, and suggested small improvements. Slowly, the whispers among the advisors changed from doubt to fascination. Humans could indeed think differently, and that difference could be valuable. The Queen remained cautious, yet Marcus could sense her curiosity growing. She watched him, tested him, and allowed him limited freedom to explore solutions. The palace had never known a guest like him. And the princess, Lyra, became his ally, guiding him through customs and teaching him the delicate balance of power, respect, and innovation. By the end of the week, Marcus had accomplished small but remarkable feats. He repaired broken machinery, streamlined inefficient routines, and even suggested a new method to predict storms that had previously endangered the city. Each time the Queen observed silently, her expression unreadable, yet Marcus felt a subtle shift in her perception. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but they were also capable, ingenious, and courageous. That was a combination the Zarithians could not ignore. As Marcus prepared for another day of observation and problem-solving, he reflected on his journey. Saving the princess had been only the beginning. Now, he was embedded in the heart of an alien world, respected but constrained, admired but observed. And one thought ran through his mind repeatedly. Humans had the power to change the course of events, not with weapons or force, but with courage, creativity, and thought. That was the true gift he brought to Zarithia. Outside, the towers glowed under the twin moons, reflecting off silver rivers. Inside, Marcus prepared for the challenges to come, ready to continue showing the aliens what humanity could achieve, one clever solution at a time. The queen's eyes watched him from afar, her mind calculating, analyzing, and quietly fascinated. A single human had entered her palace, and already he was leaving an indelible mark. The sun rose over Zarithia like a giant crystal, scattering colors across the city in waves of violet, gold, and silver. Marcus had already been awake for hours. He studied the palace courtyard from the balcony, observing the alien attendants as they prepared for a special event. Today, he knew, would be a test the queen had devised to evaluate not just his skills, but the very essence of human thinking. Lyra arrived quietly beside him. Her robes floated gracefully, shifting color with every subtle movement. "Good morning," she said, smiling faintly. "Are you ready?" Marcus turned to her, taking a deep breath. "I don't know what she expects, but I am ready to do my best." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "That is all anyone can ask. Remember, think like a human, not like a Zorithian. That is your strength." He nodded. Her words echoed in his mind. Humans had a way of solving problems that aliens could not predict. They relied on creativity, intuition, and sometimes a little risk. The test was held in the Grand Observation Hall, a vast chamber with walls that reflected not just light, but thought. The room shimmered with projections of Zorithia's past, its history, and its intricate systems of governance. The queen sat on her throne at the far end, her advisors surrounding her. Every eye turned to Marcus as he entered. "Human," the queen said, her voice calm but commanding. "Today, you will face a challenge that has confounded my best advisors for decades. You must find a solution, one that preserves life, order, and balance. Fail, and you may still live, but your freedom will be limited. Succeed, and perhaps you will earn more than respect. You may earn understanding." Marcus nodded, his heartbeat steady. "I accept the challenge, Your Majesty." The queen waved her hand, and the projections shifted. A problem appeared, a simulation of a disaster scenario. A river that ran through the city's heart was about to flood, threatening thousands of lives and the city's delicate machinery. The traditional Zorithian approach would require strict calculations, long processes, and precise timing. One mistake could destroy centuries of careful planning. Marcus studied the projections carefully. He noticed patterns the aliens had missed: small pressure points in the riverbanks, hidden channels in the city's infrastructure, and minor adjustments that could prevent disaster without massive effort. He took a deep breath. "I need tools," he said simply. The advisors handed him a small set of instruments, alien in design but simple enough for a human to use. Marcus worked quickly, adjusting channels, creating temporary supports, and suggesting minor diversions for the water. His approach was not rigid, it was fluid, responsive, and adaptive. Lyra watched from the side, amazed. "He sees solutions the machines cannot," she whispered. Minutes passed, though it felt like hours. The river's flow adjusted according to Marcus's plan. Water levels stabilized. Machinery that would have failed continued to function. Lives that would have been at risk were safe. The room fell silent. The queen's advisors exchanged stunned glances. They had never seen a human approach a problem with such simplicity and effectiveness. One of the senior advisors whispered to another, This is beyond calculation. Humans, they think differently." The queen's eyes, however, were fixed on Marcus. She studied his every move, her mind calculating, analyzing, and quietly fascinated. "Human," she said finally, "your solution is unconventional. It respects life, preserves order, and uses minimal resources. How did you determine this?" Marcus smiled faintly. "I looked at the problem like I would at home. I asked simple questions. What is essential, what is immediate, and what can be adjusted without harming others? Then I acted." Lyra stepped forward. He did not overthink. He acted with reason and compassion. The queen considered this silently. For centuries, Zorithians had relied on strict rules, complex calculations, and rigid planning. The idea that one human could find a simple, effective solution through observation and intuition was almost impossible to accept. "You are unlike any human I have studied," the queen said. "Your mind, it is both dangerous and brilliant. I do not yet know whether to fear you or to admire you," Marcus bowed respectfully. "I am neither dangerous nor perfect. I am human, that is all." The queen nodded slowly. She motioned for the advisors to leave the room, leaving Marcus, Lyra, and her alone. "You have passed the test," she said finally. "But this is only the beginning. There are more challenges, more questions. You have shown that humans can think differently, but can you adapt to our ways without losing your essence?" Marcus met her gaze calmly. "I can adapt. I will respect your ways, but I cannot stop being human. That is who I am." The queen smiled faintly, a rare expression on her face. "Then we shall see how far this human can go. Your actions today have saved lives and earned my attention. The question now is, can humans contribute to the future of Zarithia without destroying it?" Lyra took Marcus's hand. "You have already changed the way they see humans," she said softly. "Not with force, but with thought. You are making a difference." Marcus felt a sense of pride, but also responsibility. He realized that being on Zarithia was more than just survival. He had the opportunity to show the aliens what humans could offer: creativity, courage, and ethical problem-solving. Over the next several days, Marcus continued to work with the Queen's advisors. He suggested improvements in energy distribution, city planning, and even daily routines. Each time, the aliens were amazed at how simple and effective his solutions were. They had relied on complex processes for centuries, and a human had found ways to achieve better results with less effort. Yet, the Queen remained cautious. She tested him in subtle ways, asking moral questions, presenting dilemmas, and observing how he interacted with the princess and other attendants. Marcus responded with honesty, respect, and ingenuity. Every action reinforced the idea that humans were different, but valuable. One evening, the Queen invited Marcus to a private chamber overlooking the city. The towers glowed under twin moons, and the rivers reflected light like streams of liquid silver. "You have proven something remarkable," she said. "Humans are not bound by the same rules as we are. You act with courage, with reasoning, and with compassion. Yet, I must still ensure the safety of my people. How do you propose we work together, human?" Marcus considered this carefully. "By combining our strengths, humans can act quickly and think differently. Zarithians have knowledge, stability, and experience. Together, we can solve problems neither could solve alone." The Queen studied him quietly. She had observed many beings in her long life, but Marcus was unique. "You may have a future here," she said slowly. "One human has already saved a princess, stabilized a city, and impressed a queen. Perhaps there is more for humans in Zarithia than I ever imagined." Lyra smiled beside him. "I think you are changing this world, Marcus. One clever solution at a time." Marcus chuckled lightly. "I suppose that is all we humans can do: help where we can, think when others cannot, and hope it makes a difference." The Queen's eyes softened ever so slightly. "Perhaps it does. Perhaps it does indeed." As Marcus left the chamber, he felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. He had passed the Queen's test, but he knew more challenges awaited. The palace, the city, and the Queen herself would continue to observe, probe, and test him. Yet he also realized something extraordinary. Humans had the power to inspire and change, even in a world far beyond their own. Outside, the rivers of Zarithia gleamed under the moons, reflecting the towers and the stars. Within the palace, Marcus prepared for the next stage of his journey. He had shown the aliens what humans could do, not with strength but with thought, courage, and ingenuity. And that was only the beginning. The Queen, watching from her throne, understood that one human could alter the course of her world, not through force, but through the unique and unpredictable power of humanity. And somewhere in her mind, she wondered, What could a human accomplish if given true freedom? Marcus had survived the test. He had impressed the Queen. He had saved lives. But more importantly, he had begun to change the way the aliens saw humanity, and the story was far from over. The sun rose over Zarithia like molten gold, scattering light across the towers, bridges, and rivers of silver that twisted through the city. Marcus stood on a balcony in the palace, looking out over the city he had grown to respect and, in a strange way, love. He had been on Zarithia for weeks now. Each day had tested his ingenuity, patience, and understanding of an alien culture unlike any he had ever seen. The Queen had watched him, silently and carefully through it all. Every problem he solved, every suggestion he made, every decision he took had been observed, measured, and analyzed. Marcus understood now that his freedom, and the trust of Zarithians, depended not on courage alone, but on the way he thought and acted. Lyra arrived at the balcony, her robes shifting like liquid light in the morning sun. "The Queen wishes to see you," she said gently. "It is a special audience today." Marcus turned to her, smiling. "I think I know why." Lyra's expression was unreadable. "Perhaps. But do not underestimate her caution. She watches closely." Together, they walked through the palace corridors, silent except for the soft hum of energy flowing through the walls. The air felt different today, charged, expectant, like the calm before a storm. Or, in this case, the calm before a decision. The Queen's private chamber was larger than any Marcus had entered before. The walls shimmered with crystalline projections, displaying the city, the rivers, and even the movements of the palace's inhabitants. The Queen herself stood at the far end, her presence both awe-inspiring and serene. "You have done well, human," she said, her voice calm, resonant, and commanding. "In days, you have solved problems that my advisors could not, helped my people, and shown a level of reasoning and ethical judgment that is rare among humans or any species." Marcus bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what seemed right." The Queen walked closer, her sapphire skin glinting in the light. "Right, and yet, you have done more than that. You have changed how we see your kind. Humans are unpredictable, yes, but you have proven that unpredictability can be constructive." Marcus felt a surge of pride tempered with humility. "I hope it can be. I want to help." The Queen studied him quietly. "I have observed you at work, at thought, and at choice. You respect our rules, yet you do not surrender your nature. You are human in the truest sense." "That is remarkable." Lyra stepped closer, her eyes gleaming. "You have inspired many," she said softly, "not with power but with thought, courage, and care." The Queen's eyes softened slightly. "Indeed, you have earned more than respect, human. You have earned understanding." Marcus blinked. "Understanding?" "Yes," the Queen said, her tone deliberate. "You may leave the palace, you may leave Zarithia, but understand this, your actions have left a permanent mark. My people will remember humans differently because of you. And I trust that you will continue to represent your kind well." Marcus felt a rush of relief, tempered with the weight of responsibility. "I will, I promise." The Queen motioned, and Lyra approached. "He has changed your view, Mother," she said quietly. "Humans are not threats, they are partners in thought." The Queen nodded. "Perhaps, that remains to be seen. But this human, he has shown qualities that even I could not ignore. Courage, ingenuity, and ethical reasoning. All without force, all without deception." Marcus bowed once more. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will not forget your trust." The Queen's gaze softened further. "Nor will we forget you, Marcus. Go now and take the lessons of Zarithia with you. Humans are capable of great things, as you have shown." Outside the chamber, Marcus felt the cool breeze of the city wash over him. For the first time since arriving, he truly felt free. Not only free in movement, but free in knowing that he had earned trust, respect, and understanding in a place that had seemed impossible to reach. Lyra walked beside him, smiling. "You have done more than survive here," she said. You have helped us see new possibilities. That is a rare gift. Marcus chuckled lightly. Humans are used to finding new ways. That's part of who we are. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we try. As they approached the gates of the palace, the citizens of Zorithia had gathered, curious about the human who had changed so much in such a short time. Their whispers were filled with awe and admiration, and some even nodded respectfully as Marcus passed. He realized that humans had a reputation now, not for force, not for dominance, but for thought, courage, and creativity. Lyra turned to him. This is just the beginning. Zorithia will never be the same after you. And perhaps humans will find a place here in the future because of you. Marcus felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had come to Zorithia as an envoy, expecting observation and diplomacy. Instead, he had lived as a guest, a student, a problem solver, and ultimately a teacher, without words, without force, without violence. The gates opened, and Marcus stepped into the city, the twin moons casting silver light over the towers and rivers. The citizens watched in silence, their eyes filled with curiosity and newfound respect. He was leaving, yes, but the lessons he had shared would remain. His mark on Zorithia was permanent. Lyra followed beside him. "Do you feel strange?" she asked. Marcus nodded. "I do. I came to observe, and instead I became part of something bigger. I helped, and in return I learned more than I expected." Lyra smiled. "That is what humans do, Marcus. They change the world not by force but by thought, courage, ingenuity." The Queen's voice echoed softly from the palace, carried on the breeze. "Go, human. But remember, you leave not as a stranger but as a part of our world." Marcus paused and looked back at the palace, at the towers shimmering under the twin moons, at the rivers reflecting every color of the sky. He thought of Lyra, of the Queen, and of the citizens who had come to respect him. He realized something important. HFY was not just about strength or survival. It was about thinking differently, acting courageously, and showing the best of humanity without causing harm. That was the gift he had brought, and the gift he would carry wherever he went. As the city of Zorithia disappeared behind him, Marcus felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had shielded a princess, impressed a queen, and changed the perception of an entire civilization, all without weapons, without force, without deception. And somewhere in the galaxy, he knew humanity's light would shine even brighter. Lyra walked beside him until the edge of the city gates. "Remember us, Marcus," she said softly. "Remember what humans can do." "I will," Marcus replied. "And maybe, one day, humans and Zorithians will work together again." She nodded. "Perhaps. But for now, go, human. Go with your courage, your mind, and your heart. You have earned your freedom, and more than that, you have earned respect." Marcus stepped onto the path leading from the city, the silver rivers gleaming beside him. He looked back one final time at the palace, at the Queen, at Lyra. He had come as an observer. He was leaving as a bridge between worlds, a symbol of human ingenuity, courage, and ethical action. The twin moons reflected on his path, illuminating the journey ahead. Marcus walked forward, ready to return to his own world, but knowing that he had left a mark that would endure forever. The Queen watched from her throne, silent and thoughtful. In her long life she had seen countless beings, yet none had impressed her like this one human. Courage, ingenuity, ethics, without force, without fear, without selfishness. Perhaps this was what humans were capable of. Perhaps this was what the galaxy had underestimated all along. And far above, in the glowing towers of Zorithia, the city would remember him. The human who had shielded a princess, faced the scrutiny of a queen, and changed the hearts and minds of a civilization, all through the remarkable power of being human. The story had ended, but its impact would echo through generations. Humanity, Marcus realized, had proven itself, not through weapons, not through conquest, but through ingenuity, courage, and integrity. And that was a triumph far greater than any battle. The galaxy was watching, and humans had shown their true strength.